TopMedTalk.
Well, hello and welcome back to Anesthesiology 2021, the annual meeting of the American Society of Anesthesiologists. I'm Desiree Chappell, your host, and I'm joined by my co-host, Editor-in-Chief of TopMedTalk, Professor Monty Mythen. Hello, Monty.
Hello again, Desiree. It's still great to be
here. It
is
still great to be here. We've been broadcasting all day here, the first day of Anesthesiology 2021, and it has been a blast, actually, so far. We've seen a lot of friendly faces, everyone smiling. It's just good to be out, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier on when I walked in, the sun was shining. I don't know what's happened in between. It could be snowing by now. All I know. But,
probably not. But you know what? There's a lot of sunshine in this room, these smiling faces. So join us as well. There's another smiling face over here, Sol Aronson. Professor Sol Aronson, thank you so much for joining us and co-hosting
to be here
today.
Again, still.
That's
right. Probably not snowing in San Diego, Monty.
Thanks for that, Sol.
Okay.
Well, we really want to thank the American Society of Anesthesiologists for supporting us this year and partnering with TopMedTalk to bring very important conversations from the exhibit hall, from the meeting, out to the world. We broadcast to the world, and so we do appreciate that. And it is important conversations that we have here. It's highlighting the very important work of the ASA members and constituency. And so today our conversation is no different. We have Dr. Bonnie Milas as our guest today. Bonnie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the REVIVEme initiative through the ASA as well as the opioid overdose program. So, Bonnie, for our listeners and our viewers, tell us just a little bit more about yourself. Where to start, right?
Yeah.
So, are you practicing anesthesiologist now?
Yes. So I practice at the University of Pennsylvania. I am primarily a cardiac anesthesiologist. Sol for the SCA. So my work primarily is for cardiac surgical patients and in the operating room, but I also take care of them as an intensivist in the ICU. So that links in with the opioid epidemic because I do see a fair number of individuals who are stricken with endocarditis and have valvular vegetations, and they go on to have valve replacements. So.
Yeah. Those are patients that we may actually see multiple times, right, in the cardiac suite.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're well aware of. Well, Bonnie, can you start off by telling us a little bit more about the REVIVEme initiative?
Sure. Well, the REVIVEme campaign is really an initiative to get our anesthesiologists really inspired to not only carry a naloxone product, but also to educate the public on how to recognize and to revive an overdose victim. And really, at this point in time, what we have is a wonderful website. It is REVIVEme.com. So it's revive, all caps, lowercase me.com. And that's a website where you as an anesthesiologist, you can log on there and you can download a slide set so that you can teach out in the public. And it's also a site where anyone in the public can go onto any search engine, type in that address, and they can bring up materials that they can either download, like an infographic, or they can also go through the slide set and recognize and really learn in the privacy of their own home, because some people do not want to identify as an individual who has a need in their home. They don't want to self-identify because of stigma. So this allows anyone to go on and learn in the privacy of your own home, right by your computer. And the way that this really came about was through the efforts not only of myself, but of my committee, which would be COTEP, the Committee on Trauma and Emergency Preparedness. So I work with a whole group of people. So not my effort alone, but really a combined effort.
Yeah, that's fantastic to have a resource like that, because I think a lot of us who may not be dealing with it personally don't think about the fact that individuals may not actually want to share that with other people.
Well, there's certainly a lot of shame surrounding opioid addiction. Very few people are willing to openly admit, hey, I'm struggling either with my prescription pills, I can't stop using them, or that they've actually progressed to intravenous drug use.
Bonnie, we talk a lot about the opioid epidemic here on TopMedTalk and at the EBPOM meetings that we have, and it truly is a crisis here in the U.S. Can you tell us some statistics just about the epidemic in general? I'm from Kentucky, so we've felt it particularly hard there. But tell us a little bit about the statistics, and then relate that to the anesthesia community.
Well, statistics-wise, unfortunately right now, the COVID pandemic is eclipsing what's going on in really the overdose world, so to speak. And by the time we reach the end of the year, we will have lost upwards of 100,000 individuals due to drug overdose. This is an astounding number of individuals. This is the largest number that we have ever had. That overdose death rate, it does vary by state. You mentioned Kentucky. Well, overall, overdose deaths across the United States, we are up by 30%. In Kentucky, we're up by 60%. So your state has certainly been very, very hard hit. Now, relating that to anesthesiologists, certainly we are decreasing the number of prescriptions that we're putting in people's hands. So we want them to not have an extra supply of drugs at home. Hoping that we decrease the rate of opioid addiction, but also that those drugs aren't in the hands of someone who's not prescribed them. So we don't want people to divert their drug supply should they have additional pills available at home. So we certainly, as anesthesiologists, we don't want to be handing out prescriptions needlessly.
And if I may, Bonnie, we've touched on this a number of times in TopMedTalk from the UK perspective, where we undoubtedly have an opioid problem and we have plenty of addiction problems. One of the things that we often discuss that's a differentiator is we're very parsimonious, we're very mean with our prescription of opioid drugs and the duration for which we allow them. And the majority of patients actually leave hospital after major surgery with none, if you see what I mean, as opposed to it being a default, as I think it was, to have many. So that's one of our initial contributions, isn't it?
Yeah. I would say probably now we're giving people prescriptions for opioids, if necessary, for no more than, say, a 5-day period of time, whereby they would have to come back to the hospital or to their physician to have an additional prescription written. Intraoperatively, we're also using opioids far less, or we're keeping those doses to a minimum. We're using multimodal analgesia and offering patients other means of handling pain in the operating room. But I do think there's more as anesthesiologists that we can do, and that does surround the REVIVEme campaign. But more importantly is that we can take the center stage nationally here in the United States and really resetting public health policy and driving initiatives that will educate the public, get naloxone into the hands of those who need it, and will help save lives. We could do tremendous work in that area.
Is naloxone Sorry, Sol, I think you're probably going to ask the same thing if naloxone's an over-the-counter drug here now.
Yeah, it was. So you read my mind. Where are we with respect to the abilities to get naloxone into the hands of those who would need it, use it?
Sure. So naloxone currently in the United States, there is either a standing order in every state or there is legislation in place. So you can walk in as a community member without a prescription and you can say, I need a dose of naloxone, and you should be able to get that without a prescription. But I also think that not only having access to it at a pharmacy, but having it next to the AED on the wall
Yes.
in every location in the United States is where it also needs to be. So in the home, if you're picking it up privately from a pharmacy, or you can go to your county health department, but it also needs to be next to the AED.
Brilliant. It makes so much sense, doesn't it?
Sure.
Going back, and I was meaning to ask this, you were speaking about the resources and the slideshow that is available if you were to go on the website, to teach people how to understand better application. The question I want to ask, Bonnie, is where are we, the anesthesiology community, the ASA, in training trainers? In other words, I can't but help imagine there would be great benefit by community outreach to have anesthesiologists go to community gatherings to teach others how to use this.
Right, that's a very good point, and that really gets to even more so the heart of the REVIVEme campaign, because there is a slide deck that you can download if you want to go to your synagogue, to your community center, and yes, this is basic knowledge that people just need to know. And oftentimes, as I already mentioned, they are afraid to speak up. They're afraid to say, I really need this information, but I don't know where to go. I don't know who to turn to, and I really don't want somebody to know what we're going through.
And schools, Bonnie, I mean, how early should you start? Because my kids are a little bit more grown up now. My youngest is 19, 20, but they were expressing concerns. They would experiment. They'd have friends who'd experiment, etc., etc. But they're very, very aware from an early age. Is it school education?
I certainly would support education in the school system. I would say it's probably middle school on.
Yes.
I think you need to start very early.
Yep.
Not just in how to recognize somebody who might be impaired and that you might need to reach out and help. But it would also be, what do you do as a preteen or a teenager when you're struggling with whatever it might be, whether it's your sexual identity, whether it's you're depressed, whether you're a straight A student and you're afraid of failing, that you can just go to somebody and say, hey, I'm not okay. I don't feel good about myself. And therefore, you can kind of nip it in the bud early, that you don't turn to a substance. That who can you turn to that is not a substance, not something that you would become dependent on. But what are your resources? Yeah.
I'm thinking about, from my perspective, being in Kentucky, and we have just this high risk population, and I'm thinking about how do we get these resources into the hands of the people in our community, in my community, and the community, especially with little kids. We know a lot of little kids with their parents are dealing with this as well. So is there something, from a not necessarily patient, but from a community perspective, the support there?
Well, I mean, myself, I'm involved with my local drug and alcohol commission. So, say, for instance, if an anesthesiologist doesn't have a particular group that they want to get involved in, you can always turn to your local drug and alcohol commission. And that's where I go out into the community, and we do teach. We teach not only how to recognize an opioid overdose, but we teach basic maneuvers. All of us sitting here know how to open an airway, we know how to rescue breathe, and we know where to put our hands if you need to do chest compressions. That's basic knowledge that can be taught. It's not rocket science. You do not need to be a doctor, an anesthesiologist, nurse anesthetist to save an overdose victim's life. You just need basic knowledge, and you need to have the drug on hand so that you can give it within minutes, because that's all the time that you have in order to save somebody's life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I take you back to the nasal Narcan question, which overlaps with the shame issues, if you see what I mean? Yep. So, it sounds as though there's an opportunity to go to a pharmacy, for example, and say, I believe that I need some nasal Narcan.
Mm-hmm.
Is that followed up then by, why do you think you need that? And you then have to say, well, I've got a problem. I think my kids have got a challenge. Or is it just, I think it's sensible to have it in the home?
Well, your point about if you present yourself to the pharmacy and you say, I need a dose of Narcan, that pharmacists aren't always receptive.
Yeah.
And if you are questioned at all about why you don't need anything more. No response is necessary other than, I need a dose of Narcan. You don't need to expand upon it any further. And that's what I counsel individuals to say. And if they are questioned further and they feel the need to say, although I clearly say, you don't need any reason other than, I need a dose of Narcan. But if they feel they want to say something, it can be as simple as, I'm a concerned citizen and I want to be ready to respond in any circumstance to an overdose.
Brilliant.
Because I am willing to step in and help.
Is there connectivity? Is there a communication bridge between the ASA and national pharmaceutical chains like CVS or Walgreens to help convey the importance of that message and to overlay, if you will, a principle of you don't need to ask the next question, those pharmacists that work for us kind of situation?
Well, we have had conversations with, and I've actually offered to speak to, say, a national pharmacist or pharmacologist association. They haven't taken me up on that offer as of yet, but I know that they are aware of some negative feedback that they have gotten on how pharmacists interact with individuals who are trying to purchase Naloxone.
Mm-hmm. Bonnie, your passion for this, I mean, you can feel it. Tell us, where that comes from in your personal connection.
Sure. I think, this group certainly knows, and many of the ASA members know, I speak openly about the fact that I have lost, tragically, both of my adult sons to accidental opioid overdoses. And really, from that experience, I've been in the home where I've had to do full-on CPR, rescue breathing, calling 911, giving the Naloxone dose, and I'm a trained anesthesiologist. I have a skill set, and I'm good at what I do. I was able to revive my son on multiple occasions, but I thought to myself, what would that be like if I didn't have that experience, if I didn't have all of that immediately right at my fingertips? And that's really what led me on this mission, really, to educate others. And I thought, anesthesiologists, we're all skilled. We know how to recognize an opioid overdose. We know how to rescue breathe. We know how to give Naloxone. What other group has more experience giving a Naloxone product? It's us. So that is an opportunity for us to do more. And I contacted Mary Dale Peterson, our immediate past president, and I explained my experiences. She was inspired, I'm inspired, and we are working with the ASA to inspire others to take this on as, again, an opportunity to represent our profession as individuals who are lifesavers. That is what we do. Now, I know that Beverly Phillip, she's also on board. She's likewise inspired, and we have signed a position paper from the American Heart Association and the ASA. We are going to work together, and we will save lives.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that and the perspective that you have that you can bring to this. It's just so important to spread the word. Bonnie, when it comes to us as clinicians and doing our daily job, should we be carrying Naloxone with us all the time?
I have it in my bag right now. It is in my motor vehicle in a little foil protected from heat and cold. Well, let's pose it to you this way. If you go to Starbucks and there's somebody who is, they're out, they're unconscious, and there's drug paraphernalia on the scene, you've called 911. How long does it take for them to arrive?
Bonnie, you got me sold.
Yeah,
I feel bad I
absolutely.
don't have it in my bag.
Yep. Me too.
The idea of having it, on the wall with a defibrillator is brilliant.
Yeah.
I think the idea of, just the conversation needs to be normalized. This
Yes.
is
Sure.
This is an epidemic in our country, and I think we need to normalize the conversation and make it just a part of the vernacular.
Well, in fact, I've published multiple op-eds in USA Today and Philadelphia Inquirer. This is a doctor who's talking about the loss of both of her children. I am doing whatever I can to normalize the conversation. It should be okay to, if your kid's on the soccer team and you're talking with other parents, it should be okay when somebody says, "Oh, how is your son or daughter doing?" They're struggling. Okay,
Absolutely.
it should be okay to say publicly that what they're dealing with, and not to feel like you are shamed or that your family, there's something wrong with your family, that you brought them up wrong.
Yeah. I think most of us probably have had family members that have been struggling with this so much. I mean, all of us have. And so it is something that we need to be able to talk about and respond to and make sure that we are doing everything that we can, that's best for our community and our patients.
And by leading by example,
Yeah.
other conversations we've had on TopMedTalk in the past about addiction is, do you think we've reached the point everywhere in anesthesia practices where it's okay to come forth and say, I just need to let you know I'm not okay. I'm not telling you, I want to go get some help to discuss what I'm not okay about, but I'm just letting you know I'm not okay.
I think we're getting there.
Okay.
I think we're getting there. I think not only the pandemic, but the opioid crisis, suicides that have been on the rise as well. I think, yes, it should be okay. And I think we should feel more comfortable saying that. Yes. No doubt.
I'll be quiet in a second.
No,
it's one of my problems.
You're okay.
We ran during COVID. Our intensive care society ran a campaign at the peak of the first wave, and it was to ask everybody to get up each day and ask themselves, "Am I okay?" Which was very powerful. I thought.
Yeah, I think
am I okay? Look in the mirror, brush your teeth, look and say, "Am I okay?"
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That's a good point. Very good point.
Yeah. Well, Bonnie, thank you so much for taking the time out of, I know your very busy schedule here. Yeah. We really do appreciate you sharing your story and sharing this with our community in TopMedTalk and EBPOM. I'm so glad that we can put this out here. I am going to go to the pharmacy as soon as possible.
Well, I can do you one better. I have extra on me, and I can give it to you.
Wow.
Sold.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And great cause.
Yes.
Fully. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
you.
Yeah. I need to get you to Kentucky to help spread the word there. My goodness. Bonnie, we hopefully we can talk to you again sometime about this very important initiative.
I want the gift of the Narcan to be given to me now while we're filming.
Oh,
sure.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Hold on one second. Let's
sit tight.
Get that.
I can get your bag for you, Bonnie.
Yeah. Actually, Elizabeth, can you grab her bags for us?
Out here?
She's our teammate.
Oh, you need to get your
you can keep your headset still on, Bonnie. She'll bring it to you. Don't worry. Sit down.
So confusing.
I know.
Confusing.
Okay.
This is great. Have we thought about the initiative to actually hand this out in the exhibit hall? I don't know if that's actually, not just for us, but for our...
Oh.
You're all entangled.
Entangled. Hold on. It's on my heel. There you go.
All right, so this is it.
That's it.
That's it.
Which is easy to carry.
There you go.
Thank you so
Nasal
much.
spray Narcan.
Yeah.
4
What
milligrams.
about my AV people?
Yes, absolutely. The guys will take it for sure. Do you have one? Yeah, Joel, you want to grab one of these? Yep, come on over. You can come on over.
Please.
And this is, a lot of colleagues carry masks in their car. Just little simple, a lot of people do, and so I think this goes right with it,
No,
right?
this is going into.
Do you have this together?
So this is just one of this I keep in my work bag.
Yeah.
I've got
There you
gloves,
go.
collapsible mask. It's got a little HME filter on it.
There you
just
go.
in case.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
That's
There.
what I carry.
Where can we get something like this? Is there like a setup that is easy? I mean, I know some of us can get it from work, but I wouldn't suggest that.
No.
That never
So the collapsible mask, you can get these on, any shopping website, Amazon.com.
Yeah.
They're inexpensive. It comes in a hard shell. But yeah, if you have to rescue breathe for someone, it comes with a little adapter with a small filter in it. It's not, HME viral shield, but again, if you have to and you want to respond, and I always keep gloves, I keep Naloxone.
There we go.
Certainly, if you're in the home setting, you would know probably that individual's HIV status or their
Right,
hepatitis, their COVID status. So family members, they're willing to jump in, and they are willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save a life. So they usually don't need this type of stuff, but yep, it's in my bag, it's in my car.
I know we're running out of time, but what's the shelf life of this?
Yeah, so I just to let you know that it is from the manufacturer, it's good for 2 years. However, whatever expiration date is stamped on there, it is good for, per the FDA, 1 year beyond that expiration date.
Thank you.
That's good
So
to know.
that's about 3 years worth of shelf life. That's pretty good.
Yeah. And one more time, the website.
So the website again is REVIVEme.com, and it is revive all in caps, lowercase me.com. Great website. You can click on slide set, public can learn, and also there's a tab you can click on where to find Naloxone. Is it being distributed from a pharmacy in your local area, state by state?
Okay.
And also for anyone who's uninsured, you can log on to that site. It's called Next Distro, and you can get it mailed to your home free of charge.
Oh, wow.
So if you need it, it's available.
Wonderful. Bonnie, thank you for everything that you
Yeah,
do.
thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you.
It's
All right.
nice talking to you guys.
Good to see you.
And thanks for listening. Cheers.
TopMedTalk.
Thanks for downloading TopMedTalk. Don't forget to subscribe via your podcatcher. Don't forget to check us out on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And also, don't forget, TopMedTalk is the broadcasting arm of EBPOM, evidence-based perioperative medicine. We'd love you to find out more about that. If you check out ebpom.org, you can find low prices on some of the conferences we're organising around the world. Many of them are virtual and don't even involve you leaving your own home. Check out ebpom.org now.